Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another installment of the Two Raccoons in a Trench Coat podcast. I'm your co-host for today's episode, Some Guy with a Hat. Joined with us, aside from our host for the episode, is our friend Curin again. How are you doing?
Hi. I'm doing good.
Great to hear. And our host is...
Some guy with a microphone, welcoming you back to another wonderful episode of Two Raccoons in a Trench Coat podcast, where today we have a very special topic underway, and I have a good feeling about this one. I think it's something that we can touch a lot on. We're going to hit a lot of broad audiences across multiple spectrums. We do have a resident expert of our topic here with us today, and yep. How do you feel about some trivia, both of you?
Let's do it.
Probably pretty good.
All right. So, the way trivia is going to work is that you'll each go one at a time. We will start with our guest, of course. Meanwhile, the co-host will step out. And we will... you'll be given 5 questions with 1 minute on the clock. They have a minute to answer. If they get all of them right, they win. If they don't get all of them right, they don't win. There may be a prize for the winner. We don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see if somebody wins. Does that sound good to everybody?
Yep.
Fantastic. Alrighty. With that said, co-host, if you would like to step out of the studio so you don't hear the questions as I quiz our guest.
I will, and I'm going to say something. I've noticed whenever it's my turn to play trivia, I don't get your text to return for like 3 to 4 minutes. So there's definitely a delay there, and it's been brought up before.
I'm gonna call you live on the air.
Okay, sounds good. I will look forward to it. Stepping out now.
Okay. So before we get to trivia, Curin, how have you been since the last time you were on the podcast?
Been good. I'm on vacation.
Vacation. And where are you vacationing at today?
My house, but not doing my job, which is the best kind of vacation.
You know what? That is absolutely fantastic. Did you know there's actually a study done that says that millennials and Gen Z, over 65% of the population of that group that were asked, actually do not take destination vacations anymore. They use their time off just to stay home, relax, and catch up on housework.
Interesting.
I know. But anyway, on to the trivia. So you know what today's topic is. It is in the title. We're going to see if our audience can play along and guess with us. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Fantastic. I should get a timer set up before I ask you that question because this is timed. Okay. Timer. You get 1 minute. All right. The time will start after I finish asking the first question. Are we ready?
Yes.
What is the name of the card game popularized by the game The
Gwent.
Witcher? All right, question number 2. What is the basic fire spell used by many Witchers?
Igni.
Who narrates The Witcher 3?
Been a hot minute since I've played.
Mm-hmm.
I don't... It does Vesemir to it?
You can skip if you don't know.
Skip.
All right. In The Witcher 3, what creature kills the character Annabelle?
This is some very specific Witcher 3 information that if I'm gonna take a stab at it, I'm gonna say the Griffin.
Gotcha. And your final question. What is the original language that the book The Witcher, the series, was written in?
Polish.
Fantastic. You are left with 3 seconds on the clock. Guest, how do you think you did?
The 2 middle ones I don't have a lot of confidence in, especially the one I passed on. Yeah, it's been a hot minute since I played 3, so those are very specific details that I do not come to mind.
That is fair. That is very fair. All right. Well, let's go ahead and I will give a quick on-air phone call to our co-host here. Let's get him
Hello, 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 hello.
Hello, this is 90371 The Raccoons. You are on the air, caller number 9. How are you today?
Oh my god, did I win the lifetime supply of trash?
You sure did. If you can answer our one trivia question.
Okay, what is it?
How many raccoons are in that trench coat?
Fuck!
He hung up. He hung
All
up
right,
on me.
I'm back. I got a strange phone call while I was out there. I got some
Oh.
scam call from this fake radio show, it sounded like.
Oh. Huh.
Yeah, totally weird. All right,
Well,
how do you think you
all
did,
right.
guest?
Good 3 out of 5.
Okay. I'm gonna be lucky if I get 2. I
All right.
have a feeling.
All right, so you have 5 questions up on the board. Our guest answered with 3 seconds to spare.
Okay.
You'll have 1 minute on the clock. Are you ready?
Yep.
All right. What is the name of the card game popularized
Gwent.
by the game The Witcher?
Yeah, Gwent.
Okay. Question number 2. What is the basic fire spell used by many Witchers?
Ooh. Incantation.
All right. Question number 3. Who narrates The Witcher 3?
Siri.
Number 4. What is it in The Witcher 3? What creature kills the character Annabelle?
Oh, I haven't gotten to that point yet. I'm gonna say an ent.
Okay. And question number 5. What language was The Witcher originally written in?
Scandinavian.
Final answer? You have time?
Yeah, that's my final answer.
13 seconds left to spare. Co-host, how do you think you did?
I mean, as long as I didn't mess up the pronunciation of the card game, I know I got that one right.
All right. Well, so I shall read the scores off and the answers. So, question number 1. Those of you playing at home, comment how many you got correct. What is the name of the card game popularized by the Witcher series? The answer is Gwent. You both got that one correct. We are 1 for 1. Question number 2. What is the basic fire spell used by many Witchers? Co-host, you said incantation. That is not far off, but our guest got it right with Igni.
Ooh, nice.
Question number 3. Who narrates The Witcher 3? Now, guest, you said, was it Vesemir you went with?
Yeah.
And co-host, who did you go with?
I said Siri, but Vesemir would have been my second guess.
The answer was Dandelion, but I believe Vesemir also counts. Okay. What's that? Go for it.
That does make a lot more sense thinking about it, but
The bard narrates the story.
yeah. It's been a hot minute.
Question number 4. What creature was it in The Witcher 3 that killed Annabelle? Now, guest, you said the griffin, and co-host, you said the ent. Now, if you had to guess, which one of you think you got it right?
Not me.
I'm not super hype on my answer either. I'm guessing that both of us got it wrong.
That is correct. She was killed by rats.
Oh, the
Real
Black
curveball in that
Plague.
one. And finally, question number 5. What language was the Witcher series originally written in? Co-host, you said Scandinavian, and guest, you said Polish. The answer is Polish.
Nice.
So we have, it looks like 3 to 1, looks like a 3 to 1. 3 to 1 on that scoreboard if my calculations are correct.
Par for the course here on the Two Raccoons in a Trench Coat podcast. Congratulations. How do you feel about your momentous win?
I would like to thank all of my followers and fans who've gotten me this far. I couldn't have done it without them.
We will have your prize shipped to you via AliExpress within the next 3 to 7 business days. So, with that out of the way, today's topic, if you hadn't already guessed, is The Witcher, specifically the Witcher franchise, not sticking to any particular book, game, or show. I'm going to go ahead and put it right here. Spoilers for the Witcher series if you are still reading the books, if you're still playing the games, or if you're planning on watching more of the Netflix series. Although, we will talk about how the Netflix series does divert from the game / the books. That is a topic of point, so you may be able to listen if you only care about the Netflix adaptation.
After the fact, looking at the times, spoilers are over at recording time of 42 minutes, so probably around 40 minutes episode time is when story spoilers are over for the books. And we wrap up talking about the games around the hour mark, just if you want to avoid anything there.
But without further ado on that, where do we want to start? What medium do we want to start with?
What are we most familiar with as a group?
So I have only seen the Netflix show, and I played a little bit of The Witcher 3. I'd be most interested to learn about the books, because that's what it originally was.
Mm-hmm.
But we can start wherever.
I think the books are a great starting point.
Sure.
Now, special guest, have you read through the books?
Yes.
Wonderful. Good. So have I, as of recently. Well,
a couple of years ago that I read them.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's been a bit for some of us.
Over 5 years.
Now, did you read them in English, or did you read them in their native Polish?
Well, first of all, I listened to them as an audiobook in English. I was working at the time. It was something
I was listening to them in Polish. I do not speak Polish.
Wow.
Well, we'll get different things out of that.
Fake fan, not even reading it in its original language.
Understandable. I guess I'll leave now.
No, we need you.
Don't forget to... Hold on. There is no show without you. Get him back in here. So why don't you... Okay, so since I know a decent amount, our guest knows a decent amount, I've been talking a ton this episode, and co-host, you know a bit lesser about the series. Guest, why don't you kind of walk us through the events of The Witcher? You can start at book 1. You can start in anything that predates book 1. You can pick your favorite starting point. Just give us a healthy synopsis of The Witcher for those at home who may or may not have seen it or may be interested in partaking. I do know through crowdsourcing, we do have a number of active listeners who are very interested in starting the series.
Okay.
But have not actually taken the jump. They don't know if they want to start with the books, the games, or the Netflix series. So let's walk through the books first and give us your good interpretation. Now, as you're going, we might pepper you with a couple of questions here or there. If we have any questions, how does that sound for you?
Sounds great.
All right, I will go ahead and turn it over to our very special guest. Take it away, Curin.
Okay, so I'm going to skip over a big chunk of what happens in the first... They're not really part of the saga, but the two collections of short stories, with a couple distinct exceptions. So there are two stories that are very important, and one of them I do not remember the name of. I only remember the fairy tale it's based on. But that's beside the point. The first story that I want to talk about is The Last Wish, which interestingly enough is a bit different because Dandelion's not there compared to the Netflix show. Dandelion's not in a lot of things that he appears in the Netflix show. Not anything against that.
So is the bard in the Netflix show actually named Dandelion? Because I never picked up on that, if that's true.
So, his name is... What they did is they call him Yaskir.
Right.
which is his original Polish name. But the thing about that is, this is one of those things that I have an opinion on because it's a translation choice. In the
Mm.
books and everything else, they change his name to Dandelion because Jaskier in Polish means buttercup. So it doesn't have the same sort of, like, it might not be quite buttercup, but it's something similar to that. It is meant to be very playful, and that doesn't come across if you don't change the name, which is why in the games, in the translations of the books, his name is Dandelion.
I
That being
see.
said, they are the same character.
Okay.
He's in a lot more of the Netflix show. In some ways, I love that because I love the guy who plays it. It does totally screw with the timeline, um, but there's a lot of other things that, when we get to the Netflix show, I have opinions. Um, but aside from that, um, there's a majority of this that if you've seen the Netflix show and seen the Last Wish episode, which is where Geralt meets Yennefer, a lot of that is very similar. Not all of it, but the main beat for beat story of the uh, Geralt finding the gin bottle and then making wishes, and then by the end of it, making the final wish to free Yennefer. That's a whole part of the story, and that is the point where they kind of introduce Yennefer and have this ongoing relationship that kind of is off and on again.
Mm-hmm.
The other main story, another one that got adapted and is very close. Again, aside from dropping in Dandelion / Jaskier into the story, because again, he's not in as many of the original short stories. Is the Gravelhog tale. This is the one that is the wedding, that gets, where the monster comes in and asks for a hand in marriage, all of that, and leads us to, um, the promised child that is promised to Geralt, which sets down Cirilla's story, which is the majority of the novels. Um, the other major thing that I do want to talk about, and it's a very short piece, in the short stories, is, because the sagas pick up after Geralt has already gotten Ciri, and she's up with the Witchers. Um, the During the short stories, though, does encompass when Geralt goes to find Cirilla. The interesting thing about it is the person who tells him to go do it is Yennefer. And in a very different way than she does it in the Netflix show. It is insinuated that she knows a lot more about Cirilla than even Geralt does, because the scene where she tells him that he needs to go look for that promised child, in the books, is they are at a festival, um, and during this festival, a lot of people get together. They're getting together. They're out under the moonlight. Just so you know, Geralt gets it on quite often. It does not ever, like, it's never explicit in the books, but there are a lot of waking up in bed with different women. That is a fact about his character, just so you're aware.
Yeah.
Um, but Yennefer is the kind of consistent flame, and this is one of their on again, off again times. Um, and it's while they're laying there that she brings up the promised child and that he needs to go looking, which at this point is insinuating that she knows Cirilla's in danger and that Cirilla's important. Um, and there are many reasons for that. which we'll get into a little bit later. Picking up with the sagas and kind of skipping through, Geralt finds her and takes her to Kaer Morhen. You kind of have the story starts off very lighthearted in some ways, of having this large group of men who basically have lived their life in an all boys school, essentially. That's what Witcher life is. There are not really any girls there. Having to deal with this young girl growing up and not knowing how to deal with her. And this is where we get introduced to Triss, who used to live at Kaer Morhen. And that's where a lot of the Witchers will have. I can't remember. Marigold is usually what they refer to her as. So a lot of them at Kaer Morhen. Yeah, but a lot of them will more affectionately call her Marigold. And it is kind of insinuated. 1 second. We're being crashed.
Yeah,
Hello,
you are.
Oh, God. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a huge monitor. Dear God.
It's been here for a while.
Well, you won today's trivia, so we thought we could get you a very special gift from the Two Raccoons and Trenchcoat podcast. Just for you.
Thanks.
You got it, man. What does it say?
I got that dog in me.
It sure does. You got that dog in you, friend. That's for you. That's yours. Here you go.
Thanks.
So how do you like being on the podcast so far?
I'm regretting my decisions already.
That's fantastic. How far are we through The Witcher at this point?
I was just getting into the beginning of the sagas because I was talking about the short stories.
Perfect. All right. Well, I've crashed your podcast. Hi, Internet. I'm someone you don't know, working for the Two Raccoons Trenchcoat podcast. I'm going to get back to where I was hiding in, so I'll see you later.
Thanks. Bye.
Goodbye.
Okay. Well, that was a whole thing. Okay.
For clarification,
Mm-hmm.
some guy with the mic, as we're planning out this episode, he texted me like, "Hey, I have an idea. You know this gift I got Curin like a month ago? I'm gonna give it to him live on air on the podcast." And I'm like, "Look, buddy, you know him better than I do. If you're sure it's a good idea." So that was that little bit
Unexpected.
was all his.
Yep.
Yeah.
But fun.
Yeah.
So yeah. But kind of bringing this back in so we can actually get going, because there's a lot to cover. So it ends up with Triss comes and starts dealing with, we're getting Cirilla old enough that she's starting to come of age, have periods, and those sorts of things. And does not want the Witchers feeding her all of their special tonics and mushrooms and things that make Witchers different. Because she's already like, this girl looks malnutritioned. So this leads to Cirilla getting sent to live at a temple for a little bit. And it's during part of this that Geralt reaches out to Yennefer with the most terrible way to start a conversation with an old fling, which was, "Dear friend."
Oh no.
And there is a very scathing reply that Yen gives, even though she does come to help out, because Cirilla does show some talent with magic. And a lot of shenanigans happen, from what I remember, between then and her eventually going to take Cirilla to like the Magic Academy type thing.
Mhm.
They end up getting there, and this is where the school gets attacked. One of the high mages actually goes after Cirilla, and she teleports away, not really knowing where she's going, and ends up far on the other side of the continent. And she ends up doing some things that screws with her magic because she does some things wrong and she cannot use her magic properly.
Hmm.
Which kind of sets her on a path of just trying to figure out how to survive. Meanwhile, you have Geralt on now trying to make his way to find where Cirilla is. Amongst all of this, there's a war going on with the Empire coming up from the south and starting to invade. This is pretty well covered if you've seen the Netflix show. It is the reason
Mhm.
that Cirilla's home kingdom was taken over and why she was on the run and all of that. And it's still progressing. So there are a bunch of people who are also interested in finding Cirilla because she is also technically the heir to that kingdom that I cannot remember the name of. I am blanking on a lot of the middle bit scenarios. I know at one point Geralt meets a vampire.
Ooh.
Um, he meets up with Dandelion. This isn't the first time he's met Dandelion. There is a short story that Dandelion, I believe, is in. But he meets back up with Dandelion. At one point, they're in kind of a posh. I think of it like kind of a medieval France, but almost like a caricature of medieval France.
Mm.
Um, where Dandelion gets on very well with the I believe she's the queen of that kingdom, to a point that he does eventually end up planning on settling there. Um, because he's going to be old. He's going to be like 40, which is very funny considering both Geralt and Yen are both in over 100.
Yeah, so
Uh,
like that's one question that I have. Like a lot of events take place, yet we often like reconnect with these characters that we experienced throughout. What's the timeline like? Is it like supposed to be like a standard like one to one like a year in the story is a year in what we would experience, or is it like elongated in any
so,
sense?
as far as I can tell, it's mostly supposed to be like one to one, what you
Okay.
would expect a year to be. And the thing is, and this is where I make the comment that Dandelion being in certain places does screw with things.
Mm-hmm.
He was not there during the conception of Cirilla. He had not met Geralt back when Geralt and Yen first met, which was before that event even. Like
Yep.
the problem is if you keep the same time, like like the whole same chronology of events happening, Dandelion is supposed to be would be extremely old. Which part of that I think the way that the Netflix show handles it is the time between Geralt first meeting Yennefer and everything else happening is a lot shorter, um, which does
Yeah.
change a bit of how their relationship functions. But there's a lot of that changes just based on characterization. Um, but yeah, so it's mostly meant to be like a year in the book would be the same as a year that we
Okay.
experience. It's not like messing in any way, shape, or form as far as I know. Like 40-year-old in kind of probably late middle ages, yeah, he is getting old. Because that is supposed to also be another thing that's kind of coming about. The Age of the Witchers is ending, which is where the video games end up picking up, is after the rest of this. So, beyond this, while shenanigans with Geralt trying to traipse across the country and getting involved in way more things than he's supposed to, Geralt has a bad habit of not doing what the Witchers are supposed to do and only do what they're paid to do. He gets involved a little too much. He cares a little too much. Cirilla, on the other hand, is trying to find her way back. Eventually ends up with a hermit for a short period of time who helps tend to her wounds and get her back on her feet. And then ends up in with kind of a band of ruffians. This is where she starts doing more swordplay and sort of things like that, even though she was taught most of that from the Witchers. And then all of her little gang gets killed by a bounty hunter who has come to take her in, because the Emperor is looking for her specifically. And at least I believe he was hired by the Emperor. There's a couple of factions.
Isn't the Emperor
around.
her father?
Yes, at this point in the books,
Okay.
you do not know that. That is a late stage reveal. That technically is something that's towards the very end of the books. But yeah, this is the point where the bounty hunter could easily have killed her, and it's made kind of very evident that he could do basically what he wanted with her, and she is terrified of him because of it. And that's kind of a progression that is her getting over that. I'm trying to remember, because there is another set of events that happen, and I believe it is towards the end, but not at the end, which is when Ciri gets teleported to a different plane of existence. Yeah, so she finds a place called the Tower of the Swallow. Cirilla is special in many ways. One of the ways is she is considered something called a source, which means she can do things with magic that other people can't. One of them is traverse the realms. And another person who has been looking for her is the King of the Wild Hunt, because they need an heir, and not everyone can be an heir. And I say the King of the Wild Hunt, he himself doesn't seem too infatuated with the idea, as much as when she is captured, everybody else tells her what is expected of her. He never forces himself on her. But he also seems like he might be a crotchety old man who's dying.
As crotchety old men are wont to do.
Yep. She does eventually escape, making her way back home to her home plane, and she kind of shifts through a bunch of little different planes that are described in different ways, which is a very interesting few pages of her world hopping. But we don't get much more from that. And as kind of the books kind of conclude, that one archmage who had kind of started all of this, attacking Cirilla and helping the Empire attack the actual original magic school that she was in, or was gonna go to. She never really started anything there. He ends up with the bounty hunter, and Geralt makes it there. Ciri kind of pops out there. Confluence of coincidence. And there's a fight, a battle. Everybody, all of the villains get their ass handed to them. And it looks like everything's gonna go great until the Emperor shows up with an army. This is
Way
the
to
point
kill
where,
the mood, bud.
yeah, this is where the point where the Emperor makes it very clear that he's taking Cirilla, because it is his daughter. Um, she's his daughter. I don't know why I said it, but yeah, she's his daughter.
The thing, the magical conduit is my child.
It's part of the reason. So the very messed up thing that he wants to do. So the whole prophecy that surrounds Cirilla is that the child she bears will change the world. It's got some very flowery language that could mean good or very terrible things. He wants to wed his own daughter.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we call a yikes.
Yes.
So it's just Woody Allen. Got it.
Mind you, that being said, he gets to sit there and talk with Geralt for a little bit, and Yen, who are both there, and basically gives them the out of they can take their own lives, have a nice bath, and kill themselves. And they're
As the youth are wont to do.
They are fully prepared because there's no real other option that they have at this point. It's either that or get murdered by a bunch of soldiers. And he then talks to Ciri for a little while. And the next thing that happens is while they are preparing to commit suicide, Ciri walks in and says he's left. It's insinuated that basically what was discussed changed his mind on what he wanted. Because all things considered, when you actually find out what happened and what was his original plan, so he was back in the days during the Grovel Hog story, he was cursed, and he was not next in line for the throne. That slowly changed as there was some conflict, but he was going to take Ciri and her mother and go south with him and rule with him. This was supposed to happen. Their ship sank on the way there, partially, if I remember correctly, because of something he was doing to try and make it look like they died. His wife actually died, and Ciri hadn't gone with them. She had stayed behind with her grandmother because he didn't want everyone to know where they were going. So he ends up alone, without his wife, without his daughter. There is some insinuation that he does actually care for his family. But things got messed up somewhere along the way. So all of these events happen. The books and the way they end is a very interesting way to end it. So humans and non-humans have always had kind of tiffs. This has been back and forth throughout the books. That like the elves are treated poorly, the dwarves are treated poorly, whatnot. And we have a few different characters that we meet along the way, some that help for a while, some that don't. In the last part of the novels, a pogrom happens. If you're not familiar with what a pogrom is, this is an ethnical cleansing.
Fine.
And yeah, and Geralt, being the person he is, who puts his nose in places that he's not always supposed to be, goes in to help and gets stabbed and killed. And at this point, they don't actually know where Ciri is, from what I remember. I don't remember how we got from her being with them to her not being with them. There's some holes in what I remember of those books. But both Yen and Triss try to help him. Triss gives up very quickly, saying that there's nothing they can do. Yen is about to kill herself trying. And then it's said that the last thing people saw of them was a young girl come up and take them away. And that's where the story ends.
Oh, wow.
Yes, it ends as a tragedy. As far as we know, Geralt is dead. Yen probably also.
I love that.
Yeah, but you don't quite know.
Right, like it leaves it open for interpretation.
Is where
and, like, does it?
the games come in very well. But if you want to make a comment.
So, like, do the books continue with, like, the world and the conflict going on, or does it just end with them?
That's it. That's the end.
Wow.
That is how the story ends. We very recently, got another book, but it is from Geralt, very young. So it has nothing to do with the saga. I'm going to kind of slide into the games, which I am a bit more familiar with the story of the games. I've played them. I've done more than one playthrough of the games compared to the one audio listening of the books. I'm now realizing that audiobook listen was over 5 years ago. But the games pick up. Geralt has been found outside of Kaer Morhen, not doing well, but alive. And this is after everything else. He has not been seen in years. And he has no memories. He doesn't remember anything. The first game, there is an attack on Kaer Morhen. Some bandits steal their recipes and potion ingredients. It's assumed to try and attempt to make witchers or do something terrible. Their potions are important. You are going out to look for them. You end up near the town of Vizima, and obviously that's where you happen to go happens to be the place that that the villains ended up. But there is also this sort of cult, the Church of the Eternal Flame, that has also taken up residence here, who are offering to slay monsters and things like that. And once you get to the outskirts of Vizima, you meet a kid named Alvin. When you first see him is in a cutscene of him running up to this little outpost outside of Vizima with his sister, who then gets killed by monsters. Before too long, you learn that Alvin is also a source. He speaks of the prophecy that is more related to Ciri than it is to him, but he's somehow able to channel that. So you end up helping out around. A lot of the characters in this game are kind of shitty for the most part, especially the townspeople that are in that little outskirts town. Come to find out, they've been doing some things to women and girls and things. You do have a nice opportunity to kill them all after they try to pin it all on this witch who is more of an herbalist than anything. But because of all the things that they had done, the greed, the whatever, they were drawing monsters to the area, which is why that's relevant. You eventually, once you clear that all up, get into the city of Vizima. Triss is here. You run into some other characters that you'd be familiar with if you read the books, but not many like major appearances. This is where the game gets to be very detective story. You are trying to figure out. You're pretty sure that the bandits you've seen now out in the outskirts village are the same bandits that attacked Kaer Morhen, from the same band, and you are trying to figure out where they are, who's leading them, how to get at them. This leads you down several different avenues. One is trying to get into a tower in a swamp nearby. Another is that you go to ask questions of a bandit in custody, and then he gets killed, and then you have to attempt to do an autopsy, which is very related to how much information you've collected in the game.
Oh,
because
that's neat.
depending on like the books and things that you've picked up and tried to learn, you'll know to look for different things. So they will simply just not be options if you haven't gotten enough information, which will lead you to want to accuse different people of being in this gang. You do eventually figure out that it's someone who is not local, someone you probably haven't met. This chapter of the games kind of ends once you actually eventually make your way to that tower in the swamp and get it open, which is a whole to do. And you also have to deal with the swamp people who worship the fish gods, which is an entirely separate side plot. You end up running into one of the guys who was at Kaer Morhen, who wants into that tower. You guys fight. It's kind of a draw. Geralt's not doing so hot. The next thing you know, you wake up with Triss in the market quarter. A lot more things end up happening. Not super horrendously important. The gang essentially is doing a certain amount of experiments in the area, which causes problems, eventually causing the city to get attacked by monsters and things, and kind of get into an uproar. You do end up meeting the king, which is not the first time Geralt has met the king. It is a story that is brought up in the Netflix show, and it's one of the early short stories of Geralt going to Vizima to help the king cure his daughter, who has been turned into a Striga. Somehow someone ends up in the game resetting the curse, and you have to go back through, spend a night in the tomb that she's bound to, which is a fun little side plot and a callback to the stories. Eventually, you do end up figuring out that someone else is behind the gang that isn't the gang themselves. And you start having more clashes with the Church of the Eternal Fire, who at first were frustrating but not a problem. Honestly, one of them is even kind of likable towards the beginning of the game. But as things start to fall apart in the city, you start to realize that things are probably being orchestrated by them. And I'm going to bring up a thing that I've kind of forgotten to get back to mentioning which is Alvin, because Alvin's relevant. You after the outskirts section of the game, you leave him with the witch. When you meet up with Triss, you ask her to look after him for a little while. And then there is a small interim where I don't remember exactly the reasons why, but you end up outside of the city entirely in a small little town. Assumingly not far away, but it's not like specified how far away. And Alvin meets you there. It is during that part that Alvin ends up going missing. This is relevant because of the game's climax. You end up making it to the leader of the Church of the Eternal Fire, having a big duel, and finding out that this is Alvin, who somehow, during the events earlier where he went missing, he got scared and teleported himself back into the past.
Ooh, nice.
It's a weird, yeah. So that's a whole weird thing that happens. But this ends up resolving most of what's going on here, but hasn't really resolved Geralt's main problem of he still does not remember much. But he is starting to hear more and more of the different stories, and we pick up in the second game, well, actually, the very end of the first game, Geralt is still in Temeria, in Vizima, and he ends up with the king for a hot minute, talking things over, and the king is an attempted assassination on the king happens, and Geralt stops it. Game 2 picks up with many kings are being assassinated now, and Geralt is being kept on a short leash by the king of Vizima because Geralt is very good at stopping assassins.
Who would have thought? A man who drinks
yeah.
potions all day can help save you.
Yep. But this doesn't go super well, considering. So where the story picks up is actually Geralt in a jail cell, being interrogated by the head of intelligence of Temeria about the king's murder. And you do a flashback sequence where the king went to go get his kids, his very young kids, not his daughter that was turned into a Striga, his other kids, who have been kidnapped and taken to some duke's fortress. And Geralt has been enlisted to help get these kids. You go through the whole sequence of getting to there, and he finally gets the kids with the king. They're in this tower with this monk who has been looking after them. Geralt's a kind of scary looking dude. The children are not super hype on the scarred, white-haired man. So the king asks him to step away. He wants to be with his kids. He wants to reassure them. And then that monk goes and kills him. And jumps out a window. And as far as everybody knows, the only two people that were in there were the king, Geralt, well, and also his kids, but the king and Geralt, so he is the one primemost of suspicion, because no one else thought that a man could jump out probably what is a good 3 or 4 stories up and survive. And Geralt recognizes that he is a witcher of some form, but he does not know him. A lot of people in the King's Court are just assuming that that is him spinning a tale because it's convenient. that some mysterious witcher that he does not know was there and assassinated the king. What ends up happening is Geralt ends up getting broken out of prison by the leader of the intelligence organization, who does not believe that Geralt did it. And you are a little bit on the run, but also trying to figure out who is killing all of these kings. So your first section is kind of just tracking down and in this little wilderness area. This game has a very interesting, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Design is what we're going to go with. It's not the word I want, but it is the one I'm going to go with. So it is broken up into 3 acts. Act 1 is this act post getting out of the jail cell in this little woodland town. You help some elves, you do a few other things, and at the end of that act, you get a split choice. You can go help the elves, or you can go help the Temerian intelligence. Both have been very good to you at this point. The game does split entirely during Act 2. You end up on 2 separate sides of a war. Most of the map is different. Most of the things going on that you have to deal with are entirely different. I have not played both sides, but I have a general knowledge of what goes on. Most of it is not super important other than this fact of Geralt is still looking to get his memories, and it is said that if he can go to a place where, I want to say it's like, he needs to go to a place where many people have died with a lot of emotion, and that should help him regain his memories. Battlefield's a great place for that. Not sure, and there's some other things that like are specific conditionals. Because he wants to know, where is Cirilla, where is Yennefer? He has seen neither of them this entire time, since he woke up back in game 1. So that's kind of the major plot point that happens during Act 2, is you get Geralt's memories back. But also, another thing I forgot entirely that happens at the end of Act 1, Triss gets turned into a statue and stolen.
Okay.
Just yoinked. Just
Yeah.
yoinked.
Just yoinked. And so you are also trying to find her. But not much happens on that front until Act 3. Which is where you eventually end up finding Leto, I believe is the name of the Witcher, who has been killing all of the royalty. Find out that he was paid very handsomely to do it by our good old friend, the Emperor, who has tried once to conquer the North, but it's a lot easier if there aren't already kings there.
With that basic synopsis from our sagas and Act 1 here, I think we're going to wrap up tonight's podcast, only because we do have some other prior engagements. Well, we started a bit earlier tonight. This was good.
Yeah, I can keep going. This is going to be part 2, I guess, sometime.
Yeah, we can definitely part 2.
Yeah.
What do you think, co-host?
Yeah, I think this was a good starter into the world. Yeah, I think for a part 2 we can focus more on the Netflix show. That was something I did want to touch on a little bit, because I think the new season is, as of the time of this recording, coming out tomorrow. Whether I will be watching it is another thing entirely. I doubt it.
I will not
But
be, but
yeah,
I have opinions on that. And yeah, if we had more time, I would love to have a conversation about that. And then at some point to wrap up Witcher 3, but that's a whole thing that I've played part of that game and not finished it because it's a very long game. But
yeah,
I do
I
know
also
its
have
major
not
plot.
finished that game. But no, I am have been really interested in this one. I've been fascinated with your synopsis of all of this. I'm really I didn't expect. So I thought each like medium was its own thing. Like I thought the games adapted the book, and then the show adapted the games and the book. But it sounds like the games are a continuation of the books, and the Netflix show is just like a remix.
The Netflix show is mostly based on the sagas, and then going places that have nothing to do with anything. Again, I have opinions. Uh, and that's not to say for people who didn't like the show, there are definitely parts of the show I do really like. There are definitely parts of that show that I very much despise because of characters that I did like that I do not like how they're depicted in the show.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But all right. Thank you for coming on for tonight's podcast. We've really enjoyed our very well animated synopsis. We will definitely be doing a part 2. Maybe I will be the martyr and I'll sit down and I'll watch the next season of The Witcher.
Have fun.
And that'll be my cross to bear.
I don't know. Like I will say, they have been advertising it on Netflix. Like it's the first thing that pops up, and the trailer automatically plays. So like I gave it a watch while I was trying to decide what else to watch, and it's like, I mean, it seems fine. It's just not Henry Cavill, and I really don't like how they handled that situation. So,
yeah. Alrighty, thank you for coming on with us tonight, Curin. Curin, where can they find you?
I'm not gonna. Don't worry about it. We've discussed this before, and I'm not any better about streaming recently. So, don't. If that changes by the time we get around to part 2, I'll let you know. But I'm
wonderful.
Not on.
Since you're not much into streaming, maybe we'll rope you in for a Two Raccoons in a Trench Coat podcast game night. We can play some games together. We're gonna get a group of people together and do some gaming. Which will be probably going to be YouTube exclusive. If you're listening to us on Spotify, we do have a YouTube channel. There is bonus content on there. There is actually some videos on there right now. You can go watch, go check them out. There's our editor. He's a great guy. Known him for many of 4 years. Great guy. Does some really good editing work, and it looks good. If you're a fan of the Nazi zombies, you are going to love this bonus content.
Yep, depending on... Well, once this episode goes live, all of the World at War Zombies episodes will be up there. If that's something that you're interested in, go ahead and check it out. If you have any comments, questions about The Witcher or anything else we've covered, go ahead and leave us a comment down below or email us at tworaccoonspodcast@gmail.com. That's 2 C's, 2 O's, and no spaces. Any recommendations for games you want us to play, send us those as well. But with that, thanks for sticking around and listening to this episode. I really enjoyed this one. I've been some guy with a hat.
This is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I've been some guy with a microphone.
I've been Curin.
You're the host, so I'll let you close us out.
Oh, okay, I'm closing it out.
Yeah.
We're a professional. We're very professional here. We don't. And I've been some guy with a microphone that went and crashed my own podcast with our guests tonight. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next time. Same raccoon time, same raccoon channel. Goodbye.
Bye.